us. You can check us out anywhere around the globe. You can also listen via our website. That is studiow.buzz, studiow.buzz. Let me share something with you about that. And that is that they can go in about 24 hours and they can hear this entire broadcast. You can hear this entire broadcast again in case you missed some of it. Or you just want to hear it again or just share it with someone. Also, we're available on Alexa, Google Play, Apple CarPlay. All right. And we have two free apps. If you have an Apple device, just go to your Apple App Store and download Studio.w. Android is simply Studio W. Simply Studio W. Please share with someone right now. Okay. All right. Hey, I'm so proud to have our very special guest here tonight. We have all of our guests are special because they are all veterans. They're all veterans. That is Major Letitia Bland. Okay. Okay. And that's all right. That's all right. And my brother, he was on the last veteran show we did, Letitia. Meet Johnny Gilliam. Hey, Johnny.
Yes, sir.
How are you, sir?
I'm doing well, Mr. Brown. How you doing this evening?
Thank you so much, man. I'm doing great. Looking forward to this because the last time you were on, we didn't have the pleasure of having Major Letitia Bland with us, but we did a show with veterans, and I found it quite informative. Quite informative because today we want to talk about veterans affairs. We want to talk about veterans benefits. We want to talk about veteran opportunities because a lot of our veterans are don't have a way or know a way how to maximize their benefits. Okay, and that's what we're here for, or opportunities that's available to our veterans, because you are a very special group of people that go out there and you put your life on the line to protect this country, and the country should return the favor. Absolutely, no question about it. There should not be a homeless veteran on the street. That is impossible for me to wrap my head around. Okay, and hopefully we have a few others that's going to tune in a little bit, but we're going to kick the show off, and hopefully they will join us in a little bit. Now, Major, let's start off with you.
Yeah.
Let's a Major. I'm so proud of you. Tell us a little bit about your background, how long you've been in. You look mighty young to be a major.
I will take that. It's because I carefully tucked my grays in today. Um, but if you ask my knees, they are just the right age for as long as I've been in. So hi everyone. I'm Letitia Bland. I joined the Air Force ROTC in 2008, and then have been active duty since 2012. And so I'm actually a personnel officer in the Air Force. And so that essentially is everything cradle to grave, all things transition, all things family, all things fitness, food, fun. That's my job for all the installations I've been at. I originally got my degrees in psychology and criminal justice, hoping to be a police officer in the military. But thankfully that didn't work out, and ended up being in personnel, and I love it. Yeah, it's a great job. On any given day, I could be hugging a newborn, saluting a fallen vet, or serving a great meal to 4-star generals. So it's
Okay.
cool.
Wow. 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 Now you said you enlisted in 2008.
So I went into technically I went to the reserves, right? So I went into the ROTC Corps at University of Maryland, College Park. And so essentially I'm in school, in college, while I'm getting my training to go in active duty. So it's like boot camp spread over the course of 4 years is essentially what ROTC is. So I did that. And then I commissioned in 2012 from that program.
Okay. For those who are just tuning in, and what's your specialty again?
So technically a 38F, which makes me a personnel officer.
Okay. Okay. Wow. It still seems like 2008 and this is 24. So do the math for me. Is that 14 years you've been
16.
in?
16
years. Please.
13 are active duty. Yeah.
Wow. And so are you going to pursue, what's your next rank?
So I go up for lieutenant colonel in 2 years. But I will be separating from active duty. So I will actually be a little bit delayed going lieutenant colonel because I'll be entering the reserves.
Okay, okay,
Yeah.
very good, very good. Oh, and welcome to the set, brother Robert Hicks.
Yes, good evening. Good evening.
Actually, yes, sir, yes, sir. I'm not sure whether you met Letitia, Major Letitia Bland or not. She's out in Colorado, I believe.
Yep.
Okay.
She's one of
Yeah.
our swing sisters, and you've met brother Johnny Gilliam. He was on our last veterans show, the last one we wanted to showcase the veterans. Okay, and I
I,
think if I correct me if I'm wrong, Johnny, I think the person who introduced us to you is my great sister Tanisha Holmes. Hey, Tanisha, she's our swing sister, and meet your swing sister, the Major Letitia Bland.
Yes.
Hey,
Hola, sis.
hola, hola. Hey, Johnny. Hey, everybody.
Hey,
Hey,
Tanisha.
all right, all right. So we might have a couple more veterans joining us shortly, but anyway, let's get right into it because I really want to talk about veterans benefits and how to maximize veteran benefits. And so I'm gonna start kick this off with you, brother Johnny. Oh, brother Johnny, I don't remember or recall your rank because you were in the Marines.
That's correct, Mr. Brown. I got out of the Marine Corps active duty as a corporal, and I joined the Reserve Supply Unit. I got out as a staff sergeant.
Okay, outstanding, outstanding stuff. And you provided a lot of valuable information to us about veteran benefits. So, what would you like to share with the audience right now that you think might be beneficial to some of us, or some of those that are listening right now? There are veterans that's listening, but not only that, you have veterans that have family members that are listening uh, that may that can benefit from this information because there's so many veterans that aren't getting their benefits that they deserve. So, what would you like to share with them?
Well, Mr. Brown, one of the first things I would like to say is to never give up. It's pretty much the VA's job to somewhat deny you, but the main thing is to keep on persevering. If you put in for a claim, if it's denied, then put back in for reconsideration. Gain more evidence and put it back in. And if you can't do it yourself, there's institutions out there that will help you, such as the DAV or the American Legion, or if you want to go on there's some services out there. Lawyers will help veterans also put in for claims also.
Okay. And what I found last time that there were veteran advocates. Can you talk a little bit more about that? Because a lot of veterans, I don't know what's happening because there's a disconnect. Once they get out, they may not know who to talk to or how to apply for benefits. And so a lot of them are getting minimum benefits when they should be getting a better or even maximum benefits.
Well, there's veteran advocates also at your local VA center. Also, they can help you, maximize your benefits. So that's always very helpful. Or if you run into another vet, you have questions, ask another veteran. Uh, whatever, no matter what his percentage or he or she percentage is, ask him how did he get to that point, and then just go from there. But always be willing for ask for help.
Okay.
Just
You
always be
mentioned
willing.
Yeah, you mentioned something about if you get denied or your request, then you ask for reconsideration. And last time, if I remember correctly, there are two ways. One, the best way that I understand is to ask for reconsideration, but there's another way that will take a longer period of time to get some results. Is that correct?
That's correct. If you just put in for a reconsideration on your own, it's a shorter time. But if you do a reconsideration and it goes up to DC, that's when it could take a year or 2 years, depending on whenever they get to your claim.
Okay. Now, a major, tell us something because you work. Now, do you work with veterans, and what do you know, and what can you contribute to this? That when we're talking about veterans benefits and veterans affairs, what can you add to that?
Yeah. So now I am active duty, so I haven't gone through the process of transitioning, but I have gone through our transition assistance program. It's one of the programs that falls under me on the installation. And so out of the 150 services that we offer to the installation, helping folks transition out of service is a big one. And so
Okay.
I did want to offer that there's actually some new benefits that are available to veterans. So once you have made the transition or are making the transition, if there's someone listening first who is thinking about getting out, either transitioning to the reserves or the guard or getting out altogether, which is totally amazing, whatever you choose, know that congressionally mandated, you have to go through transition assistance. And that's for all branches, no matter what you're in, to include the Space Force, which is our newest branch. And so definitely go through transition assistance. I actually recommend you go through it 2 or 3 times before you get out. It'll really help you understand the VA benefits side of getting those things in order before you leave. And so one of the things that I learned going through transition assistance myself was that they actually have the Center for Women's Veterans that the VA offers. And so if you are a woman who has served, there is specialized care for us because not all veterans are made equal. There also are a lot of things that women tend to face when they leave, particularly fertility concerns. And if you have a service-connected disability that impacts your fertility, there are benefits available once you get out to kind of tackle some of those issues. So I thought that was really cool. And there's just some other great benefits that are women-centered at the VA Center for Women's Veterans.
Okay.
There's also MST. So one of the other things, there's a lot of things that fall under the job that I do. But one of the jobs that I had the privilege of doing was being a sexual assault response coordinator for the Air
Whoa.
Force. And military sexual trauma is a real VA connected, or excuse me, service connected VA disability. And so if someone is impacted by military sexual trauma at any point, if that's boot camp, any kind of training, TDY, or active reserve or guard duty, typically mostly active duty, but if you are on orders when you're in the guard or in the reserves and you're impacted by military sexual trauma, there's also a lot of VA benefits for that as well. There's also a percentage connected to your VA disability claims. And so even if, and this is something I learned on my latter years of being the sexual assault response coordinator, was even if the assault happened at the beginning of your service, especially a lot of our veterans who were in more than 18 years ago when the program first stood up, our veterans who were in before there was any kind of sexual assault program, they can still file for those benefits at the VA as a military sexual trauma survivor. And so I think that's really big to highlight. I know it kind of Debbie down some of the conversation, but I think it's important because there were no treatment options. There were no reporting options that were available to us that were cemented in a program, 18 years ago, and there are now, and they're available to folks even if you've gotten out. So I think that's amazing. And then the last thing I wanted to add was our death benefits. Another thing that falls under me as a personnel officer is I'm the mortuary officer for my installation.
Wow.
So if a person dies active duty, or if someone passes on after they've left service and they're looking for military funeral honors. So if they're looking for a flag folding, something presented to their family, especially depending on how long they've served, they get certain benefits. That is something to always etch out to your family. Make sure it's codified in a will, codified in some sort of paperwork so that your family knows that you want to get military funeral honors, or if your family wants military funerals, because you won't be there, but your family will be there and they may want those things. And so making sure that one, that's a benefit available to folks who've left service, and they can absolutely either go through their closest installation, whatever installation is closest to them to get that honors, and they can go through whatever branch their passed on service member has served in. So if you're Army, you can get an Army person to present that flag to your family, because you deserve that. It is a benefit that you served for, whether you served for 4 years or 40 years.
Okay, great. It's something that you said before I pass it on to Tanisha. You mentioned about transitional assistance. Okay, and you mentioned and the thing about this is that let's say you have a a female officer, well, a female veteran or a female that served in the military, and she's been abused.
Mhm.
And even after she's left, is there any period of time that she can say that's outside of the scope of her being able to file a claim or getting assistance? Let's say it goes back, let's say 10, 15, 20. I mean, I think you mentioned, did you mention 18 years, or is there something that I just overheard? Or how far back does it go that they can still come back and get some relief?
Yeah, so just over 10 years ago, they actually lifted the statute of limitations on the time period.
Uh-huh.
So members can go back anytime. The 18-year mark, you overheard correctly. 18 years ago is when the Sexual Assault Prevention and Response Program stood up in the
Okay.
entire Department of Defense. And so
Okay.
prior to that, our folks who served before then didn't really have like a codified program to go get response resources, treatment, therapy, those things to heal. And so, because of that, the VA now offers military sexual trauma counselors. They're typically psychologists or clinical social workers or licensed professional counselors, LPCs, that are at the VA centers nearest you that you can coordinate with, that someone can coordinate with and get file those claims and get those service connected benefits.
Okay. Wow, this is incredible. And what I find pretty truly amazing about that is that you said now they can go back. There was a statute of limitations,
Mhm.
but now that has completely gone away, dissolved. Okay. And so it could be 25 years ago that you had this situation happen to you, 30 years ago, which I think is right.
Mhm.
That is only right. Let's see, we have your another one of your swing sister Tiffany Hilliard going on. And so, Tanisha, I'm going to ask you to moderate. And what I'm going to do, I need to get see if I can get Dr. Demery, who's a Navy chaplain,
Okay.
Oh, nice.
a veteran, to join us. So
Okay.
take over there.
Okay.
Very valuable information. I'll come back, Letitia, because I have some more information, some more questions. But let's go around. Let's go around the panel here. After Tanisha, well, then Robert, and Tanisha, do your thing.
Hey, Johnny, once again, I want to say thank you. And I want to say thank you, everybody. I know that you were talking about like the sexual assault that took place in the military. I know that was back in the day was like a hush hush thing. It was like kind of like, brushed up on the rug or something like that.
Mhm.
So I'm glad there's some type of recourse for a change, because I do know two of my friends who actually was sexually assaulted in the military. So,
Mhm.
and it was really brutal. So I'm glad that they're starting to have that type of recourse. I always wanted to know this question. I probably should know this. Is there a cost of living increase when it comes to you all's benefits? I'm thinking to myself, like, it's like the benefits just stay the same, and I'm like, do they ever go up? I know they're max, but do you all ever get anything with the cost of benefits, cost of living benefits, or increase at all, Johnny? Or
Each year, Congress passes a bill related to veterans. Is It could be 2%, it could be three
okay,
percent, whatever they pass. So they normally pass it around October, and it doesn't start until January 1st.
okay, October, and then October, okay, and then for you, you say you do like you do the transition assistance. Do you work with the bridge program? I had a client that was from Hawaii, and I worked with them on a bridge program where basically they were coming out the Air Force and they were working like in a 6-month bridge program. Is that what you do too as well?
Yes.
Because I know
Yeah, go ahead.
it was a very difficult. I understood the program, but it was really hard to work with that program to get qualified. I do real estate too as well, so I was, I had to find a couple of lenders that will actually accept the bridge program, especially with him not being able to get the benefits from the Air Force. So of course the credit unions didn't count upon that. But so like, what do you do in a situation like that when they're working in a bridge program and still need to have like the money that's coming in from the military to be able to sustain themselves as far as like housing, maybe in a new location where the cost of living may not be the same, where it varies. Like in Hawaii, the cost of living is a lot more expensive versus here in North Carolina, but you still need that money to be able to qualify for a house here when it comes to the bridge program, because it's like a temporary program. Am I making sense? Am I talking too fast? Because I do talk fast. Johnny knows
No,
that. Okay.
no, it's good. So the program you're talking about is actually called Skill Bridge.
Still bridge,
And
yeah.
so Skill Bridge is a wonderful program that you can
Okay.
actually do if you are transitioning from active duty to reserve, or active duty to civilian life, or like standard civilian life without reserve or guard, which I think is phenomenal, because I think a lot of people only thought it was available if they were separating altogether, or if they were retiring, because it's also available if you're retiring. It's a phenomenal program. Just think about the person who left high school and then came active duty in the military and has never filled out a resume, has never like done a job interview, hasn't done all of these soft skills that civilians tend to have. SkillBridge kind of offers them the opportunity to learn how to do that. So it's phenomenal. And they are getting paid their active duty pay plus whatever basic housing allowance they had in the place that they were. So for example, when I go to SkillBridge, I'll get Colorado BAH, even if I'm in DC, which, you know, has a very different housing allowance than Colorado. And so that's just something to keep in mind. Like if I move to DC and do my SkillBridge there, I will get the basic housing for Colorado, because that was my last duty station. I did want to comment on your question about cost of living, which I love that our congressmen are passing a bill every year to give us some version of a raise for benefits, but it does not include locality. And so to your point about if you get a place in Hawaii that has like $10 milk and all the other things that come with living in Hawaii, it being very expensive, veterans benefits still aren't going to be enough to truly live just off of those benefits alone. And so it's really important for folks to, one, invest, have multiple streams of income, but also be mindful of who they're voting for, so that those benefits can hopefully get increased at some point. We've seen a very high inflation rate over the last 7 years, but that has not been equated in veterans benefits at all. So it's really important to just keep our finger on the pulse of who we're voting for, so that those benefits get a bit more advocacy.
Okay. Well, thank you, Johnny. Who's up? Is this Robert and Tiffany? Who's up next? Tiffany or Robert? Who wants to take it?
I can go next. Thank you very much. Also, actually, you were asking questions, and especially in regards to skills that veterans do need when it comes down to when they're making a transition to civilian life. And that's actually very good that one of the benefits that are available. I do have a question in regards to, are those benefits transferable from state to state? Meaning that if you're traveling, say for instance, you're going from Colorado to Texas, or Texas to Michigan to Florida. Because I did a little bit of research and I'm noticing that some states do offer different benefits based on where you are. Just wanted to know your experience in, if you shifted from state to state or moved from state to state, what benefits did you gain, or maybe some that you lost along the way?
Is that for me?
Yeah.
Yes, for both.
Okay. Now I have some Marine brothers that lives in Texas. Okay, they don't pay for their license plates. They get that free, whereas in North Carolina we have to pay for ours. So in Texas, it varies. It's different benefits, varies in different states. But far as say a veteran is 90%, wherever state he's in, whatever the rating is for that 90%, they get that 90%, or if it's 100%, they get that 100% regardless. But each states may have additional benefits. It's just depending on the state itself.
Yeah. State benefits are a little different from VA benefits, right? Like the VA offers the same benefits no matter what state you're in. As long as you are a veteran and you have a service-connected disability, you can be treated at any VA hospital and and have all of those benefits available to you as a veteran under the VA. But yes, to my brother's point, you go to Texas and you get amazing benefits. You go to Florida, you get some tax-free benefits. Those are two of the kind of top places that a lot of military veterans retire, because there's so many resources available to them as far as just like veterans benefits, kids going to college for free, all of those things. And so your GI Bill goes farther in those places as well, especially if you transferred those benefits to your children. Your children graduate high school in Texas. They go to school, I believe, for free, if I'm not mistaken. And I want to say it's the same in Florida, if not very discounted. And so certain states will do that. If you have a 100% disabled parent, your kid can go to college for the in-state rate, no matter if you're a resident of that state or not, just all kinds of different things. So it just depends on what state. You got to look at some of that research, but VA benefits specifically are all the same across all the states.
Excellent. So basically, no matter where you go, you get the same amount of benefits. So that also is a plus. So that's great. Thank you both.
Thank you.
Tiffany?
Hola, you guys. How are you?
Hola, sis.
Hello, how are you?
Good, good. I'm sorry, y'all probably can't see me because I'm driving. So, but I did want to ask for those veterans such as myself. I got out on a general discharge, so it wasn't medical. It was just a general discharge from basic. Do you have any information in regards to, like, as far as you guys were talking about housing and whatnot, and does it matter? Do you have to be in for a certain length of time in order to qualify for that particular benefit, or does it matter, or does it not matter as long as you have your 8214 and it's not a dishonorable discharge?
Johnny got that question. You got that question.
My understanding is, regardless whether it was in boot camp or active duty, if you was injured, you rate benefits regardless.
Mm-hmm.
So, Tiffany, are you asking? You said a general discharge. Are you talking about the housing? You're talking about getting a loan for a mortgage loan?
Yeah. So I'm not active now. I got out. I was in from 2009 2010, so it's a long time ago. But yeah, I was talking about the housing, for the mortgage.
Okay, because I think John was thinking about with you having an injury or something like that. Because I know that the lenders most of the time like for you to be in the service, for you to be eligible for a mortgage VA loan. It has to be like 16 weeks, from my understanding, like at least 4 months of at least I think post boot camp, from my understanding. But I can check into it. I don't know. What's your thoughts, you guys?
So I'd have to look up the time. My understanding is if you're looking for medical coverage, right, disability compensation, absolutely. Whether you served 2 weeks, 2 years, 20 years, you can still seek VA benefits. That's if you go to the Veterans Affairs website, they'll tell you that. As long as your disability meets certain criteria, right? Typically service connected, whatever that might be. The home loan piece, my understanding is as long as you are a veteran, by definition, the veteran is you have served and you have a DD-214 in that you have either separated or are retired, you can apply for VA home loan benefits. If there's a week, amount of weeks cap, that part I'm not too familiar with to be able to comment, but definitely something Google.
Okay, I've got a question here because I heard I was outside or listened to an outside speaker, and Johnny brought up something about different states and giving different benefits. And I understand there's a difference between the veterans benefits, federal, and the state benefits. And Major, you mentioned something about all states aren't treated equally. Okay, and that you may have Johnny. Are you in Texas?
No, I'm in North Carolina.
Yeah, and you mentioned something about Major that the benefits in Texas are amazing, but they may not be as great or as much in other states. Is there, is there a way, or is there a plan to kind of unify so that all the benefits, state and federal, will get the same great benefits that you will get in Texas versus Virginia versus Louisiana versus Arkansas? is there a way for veterans to, is there a push to maximize the benefits across the board, if I'm making myself plain?
Yeah. I mean, there are lobbyists on the Hill all day, every day, pushing for veterans benefits. There are special committees that are looking into quality of life for especially our enlisted folks living in barracks or in bases. So there's a ton of interest, I think, in taking a look at quality of life, veterans benefits, and all of the things that could be available. I don't know, or I haven't seen any like no kidding unified effort because every state has their own priorities.
Right.
And so I think the federal effort to unify benefits is the Veterans Affairs organization. And so each individual state, depending on what their priority is, depending on how they want to budget in their state, how they want to use their tax money, really is up to, it's a state's rights issue. But I think, again, this goes back to like taking a look at how we're voting. If veterans benefits are of a passion for you as a voter, look at the candidate who is talking about veterans. Look at the candidate who's talking about those benefits, who's talking about quality of life for military members in that state. And those are the folks you may want to look into their policies and what they want to change, what they want to do. But I think ultimately it will still come down to being a states' rights issue because there actually is a federal unified effort already.
Okay, I understand that. Hey, Johnny, tell us this. Like when you start just talking about veterans benefits and maximizing your benefits, now, did you start at a lower benefit level than you are now? Uh, and what did you do? And if that is the case, what did you do? And I know you went over and said that we talked about veterans advocates. We talk about these organizations. Um, did you start at a lower benefit than you are right now?
So to answer your question, when I got out in '92, I applied for my benefits, different claims, different ailments, but it took me from '92 to 2002 to get 10%.
Whoa.
It took me that long to get benefits, and I pretty much I pleaded with the doctor that did my CMP exam, comp and pen exam, and what I had to say was it doesn't make any sense for a service member to join the military, fight for their country, get out, they're injured, and not be able to the government not take care of them. And she basically said, Mr. Gilliam, you're exactly right. So she signed off on it. So after that, Mr. Brown, I left it alone from 92 to 2014, because I was, like any veteran, I got discouraged. So I said, I'm not going to try anymore. But someone introduced me to someone in Maryland that had worked for the hospital, Veterans Hospital in Maryland, and that was in 2014. So in 2014, I submitted some other stuff that I had going on because whether people realize it or not, okay, you can get out of the military tomorrow, you're perfectly fine, but over a period of time, this thing start happening, this and that. Especially if you serve in a war, it's different effects from post-traumatic stress to numerous
Right.
of things. So from 2014 and 2015, so I went from 10% to 70%. I kept pursuing. The next year I went to 80. The next year I went to 90. In 2019, that's when I got my 100% permanent total. But what helped me, Mr. Brown, when I got out, and I'll give God the credit on this. For some reason, I made copies of my military records, with the dental and the physical part, and my platoon commander signed off on all of my records. So to this day, I advise any service member, if you're getting out of the military, make copies of your records, no matter how small or how large something is going on with you. Always get documentation because it may affect you later on in life.
Right. It was something you said because it seemed like it took way too long to get what you deserve. And how do we circumvent the process? I know that we need an advocate and perhaps a good advocate, and this information should be available to all major. It should be available to all veterans. Now, would you recommend the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs to go to? Now, Robert put up on the screen. I'll put this back up, and I think this is if you want to contact at Virginia, he was U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs at https:// benefits.va.gov/benefits. Do you just substitute your state and go to the U.S. Department of Affairs? Because it seems like it doesn't make a lot of sense for a veteran to, just like in my brother's case right here, it shouldn't have taken that long for Brother Gilliam to get those benefits that he deserved. I mean, that makes no sense to me. How do we go about streamlining that process? Because it should be easier, because you have some veterans says, okay, but let's say some veterans are great, or people are great at researching. You know, some veterans may not have access or even bother with a computer, and making a phone call. Sometimes that's like pulling hen's teeth. You know, how do we streamline the process, Major? I can't hear you. Oh, your mic is muted.
Sorry. There we go. Sorry about that. I think you raise a great concern. There's three things I can offer for that. VA.gov is going to be your best resource. Go to your local library, use your computer at home, whatever makes the most sense for you. Like, go to VA.gov, and they have one of the best search engines. And when I say one of the best, I mean like VA.gov. I work on a Space Force base as an Air Force person, and our search engines on our like internal programs and systems are not as good as the VA.gov search engine. So just to set that out there, it is one of the best search engines for all the benefits you can possibly look up. So I will go there. If that is not available to you, if that's not an option, find the base near you. Go to the visitor center, get you a little base pass, let them know that you're a veteran, bring your DD-214 and say, I would like to go to the Veterans Affairs Office and the Military Family Readiness Center. On naval bases, that's typically called like Fleet and Family. And then on Army bases, I believe it's still called Military Family Readiness or Army Family Readiness. Go to that center on the installation, and then ask them either where's the Veterans Affairs Office, because there should be one on every DoD installation, every Department of Defense installation, there should be one. And if they can't point you to that, talk to the Military Family Readiness, Army Family Readiness, Navy Fleet and Family, so on and so forth. What that'll do is get you connected to someone who represents VA.gov, who represents the Veterans Affairs Administration, and they are able to get you the resources, get you some information, and even hook you up with a representative who can kind of answer a lot of your questions. I mean, honestly, I can't rave enough about VA.gov. I had questions about the Center for Women's Veterans, and I was able to actually text them. And so you can go on their website, get a number to text, and you can actually talk to a representative on your phone 24/7. So I really love that. The last thing I'll say is we also have to impact culture. Our wonderful World War II veterans were taught to soldier on. They went through a lot as World War II veterans. Our Korean War veterans went through a lot. They were taught to soldier on. They had injuries, mental and physical, and they were taught to just move through them and go on about their business. Our Vietnam War veterans who went through some of the I can't even describe it. Some of the hardest war fighting. They lost a lot of their comrades in that war that we didn't do so well in, and still came back to a country that wasn't very accepting of veterans, especially veterans of color, which caused a lot of mental injury, a lot of physical injury, a lot of moral injury. All of those things are service-connected mental concerns and physical concerns. And those folks were also told to just soldier on. Right? They were told to just go back to your regular lives. Good luck, shaking hands and moving on. And maybe sometimes not even that. And the issue with that culture is that people who keep surviving, and us as people of color who are already taught to just keep surviving no matter what's going on, now have bred this culture of, I'm not going to talk about it when I'm hurting. I'm not going to talk about it when things feel dark. I'm not going to talk about it when I have this cough that I don't understand and can't get rid of, but I don't have an explanation for it, but I'm not going to go to the doctor, right? And so we have this mindset that we're all going to keep soldiering on. And so that's typically why you see a lot of our veterans, because they've been, you know, discouraged in one way or another through culture to not report when something doesn't feel right, or something doesn't look right, or something doesn't sound right in their minds. And then they don't file for the benefits that are available and they deserve. And so we want to get out of that culture. So when you talk to veterans, whether they've served for 2 weeks, or well, technically 90 days, and I put that in the chat, 90 days or more, you get eligible for all these benefits.
Right.
If you have served 90 days to 40 years, tell someone that you have service-connected disabilities. It is okay to say that sometimes your mind goes dark. It's okay to say that sometimes you can't pay attention anymore. One of the things I learned talking to a VA representative is that ringing in the ears isn't normal, which for about 10 years I thought was incredibly normal. I thought it was the most normal. Like, I thought people just didn't hear silence when they stopped moving or talking. And that's actually not true. People actually hear silence. And that let me know that I have a service-connected disability based off of being located next to a flight line during 2 deployments. So it's things like that like we normalize because we've been taught to soldier on. So if we don't say anything, I think as a group of veterans, we need to tell folks that whether, and it could be all kinds of things, right? Whether it's tendonitis in the ears, whether it's your libido that's low and intimacy is difficult with your partner, if it's fertility issues, if it's pain in the knees, back, neck, arms, wrists, fingers, tell someone so that you can get the benefit.
Right. You know, I think that's the most ridiculous thing that anybody can tell someone. You know, you're supposed to be there to help the veterans. You said soldier on, like suck it up. That is absolutely incredible. That is ridiculous. I think, Robert, I misspoke also. That website you put up, that is universal, right? It's not exclusive to Virginia. Okay,
Yes,
I apologize for that. Let me read that again. Like the sister says, go to va.gov. She says that's one of the best search engines for you guys out there, va.gov. You can also go to the U.S. Department of Veterans Affairs at https / benefits.va.gov / or just go to va.gov. And I'm wondering who is spewing this garbage, soldier on. You know, you've been a soldier. You served your time. Now you're a veteran. Now you're looking for some assistance. The soldier on, it's just like, you know, men don't cry, or men shouldn't talk about whatever is alienating them, you know, whether it's physical or whether it's mental, whatever. Soldier on, man up, suck it in. That is absolutely ridiculous. I got another question, and I know Tanisha helped veterans also. Say a veteran is out there and that veteran is homeless. Are there any programs that get that veteran off the street?
Are you asking me or asking her?
Well, perhaps you know, Tanisha.
Oh, okay. I mean, there are some programs. There's quite a bit of programs out there that are catered to the veterans for dealing with homelessness. So, you know, you go to the American Legions, you can go to, you know, like she was saying, the resource centers that they were talking about, like at the VA centers, or even the VA hospitals also have like information centers too, as well too. But I did have a question. I'm kind of bouncing around a little bit too. Have you ever thought about? I want to try to get all this stuff in. So we got like 13 minutes before 8 o'clock, and then we got the debate. But another question I had, like for you, Major, is: are they going to ever implement any benefits for spouses or children that are actually affected by parents that may have been in the military that are actually getting the aftermath from that? Because a lot of times, kids, you served in the military, and then you come back home and you try to live this normal life, and then you can't live in a normal life because you have PTSD or you violent, and then you take that out on your kids. Have they ever thought about implementing any type of benefits for the family, the children, because it's starting to carry down? It's almost like a generational curse. I'm sorry, William, if I kind of got off subject, but I was just thinking about that too as well before the homeless part. I apologize.
So that's a great question, and I probably should have said this at the beginning, right? Nothing I say is speaking for the Department of Defense, right? I'm not a spokesperson for the Department of Defense. I'm just a person who served, right? And so I will say, on active duty, there is a ton of support for children. There's a ton of support for spouses that is available to folks who have active duty, guard or reserve spouses. Excuse me. There are benefits. There's benefit information for spouses and children on the va.gov website. I can't call any particular programs that are available. I know that if a person separates from service for a year, they have military one source coverage, which is a phenomenal benefit if folks are dealing with some of the PTSD that comes with their parent serving, whether their parent was deployed all the time or their parent was just gone all the time or working 14-hour shifts and not available to them emotionally. Military One Source is a great option for folks to get financial counseling, but also mental health counseling, couples counseling, the whole nine. So Military One Source is a great benefit for about a year after someone has separated from service. In terms of the homelessness question, there actually is a va.gov homeless veterans housing assistance program. So that is available too. And so if folks I Googled homeless veterans and va.gov homeless programs showed up. And so there may be states, again, it's states' rights versus federal benefits. States may offer other programs, like Colorado has multiple organizations that do homeless veteran housing specific and homeless job finding and all kinds of homeless benefits for veterans because we have 5 bases here. But on the va.gov, the federal benefit also offers homelessness assistance.
Okay. Brother Robert, I want you to jump right in. We have 10 minutes left to go. If we have to go over a little bit, that's okay. I checked with the CEO. He said it's okay. But yeah, I checked with him. He said it's fine. But anyway, my point is, when a veteran leaves, when a military personnel leaves whatever branch of service he or she leaves, is there something that includes some of this information that you and Brother Johnny are disseminating right now that says, okay, if you need this, go to va.gov, go to this, go to that. Is there a packet, a discharge package or an exit package that they get that will guide them and give them information? Because a lot of veterans, they are on the streets or they are not getting benefits. They says, you know what, I served my country faithfully, yet my country has forgotten me. Is there an exit package, that says, okay, if you have any problems, this is who you contact. These are some advocacy groups, or this group or that group. Is there anything like that that's given to you, ladies and gentlemen? Is there anything like that that's given to these soldiers that's leaving?
So, like I was saying earlier, it's congressionally mandated that members, before they exit, whatever that exit looks like, retirement, separation, or transition to the Guard or Reserve, they have to go through transition assistance program. And so what that program does is gives them all of the resources for va.gov. It gives them how to file a claim. It gives them, this is how you write a resume. This is how you do an interview. Here's how you discover your soft skills, your hard skills. Here are the schools you're eligible for. Here are the schools that will take your GI Bill and cap it at your GI Bill so you're not paying over. You name it. There's all kinds of resources in that class. It's about 3 days mandated, like congressionally mandated, that they have to go to that. Even if a member is getting put out, right? If they're getting dishonorably discharged, they have to go through this program so that they get access to those benefits. So it's access to whatever benefits are available to them. Now, as we know, dishonorable discharge reduces a lot of those benefits, but nonetheless, members still need a pathway to exit. And so this is a program that, like, our Congress members have made sure is on the docket for all service members, no matter what branch they're serving in, to go to before they leave. It is quite literally an alternate duty location for a member. So you will report to transition assistance in order to make sure you get all the information you need. And you can go multiple times. So it's really great. They leave you with all kinds of resources. You get a giant book of this is what it looks like to be a veteran. You get a giant book to take home with you. And those books are available at the Veterans Affairs offices at the installations near you. So it's I mean, there's a ton of excuse me, pouring back into retiree information and separatee information for this reason.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Brother Robert, I see that there between what the major is talking about and the time out of service, there's a disconnect there somewhere. I'm just going to leave it with you right now. What's your question or comment, sir?
Yes, I would probably say that it is definitely important that veterans understand what benefits are available to them, and also people just realize, and also actually to veterans and veterans yourselves, you are an important voting block when it comes down to this upcoming election.
Come on now,
because a lot of and this new election will definitely make the position of, say, for instance, if VA benefits are even available to you, and also because I'm seeing and reading a couple of reports of how certain policies could end VA benefits completely, cutting of care, facilities. So you really have to consider, okay, I've put in my time for how many years, worked up the ranks in the military, or say, for instance, I did my time and ended up being disabled. You really have to look at the candidates, look at the platforms, and see what it is that basically meets your needs. I'm going to pretty much leave it at that, but definitely realize that veterans need to be taken care of. They should not be left out in the streets. They should not be considered secondary citizens. You put your lives on the line. You made it out of uniform. You should be compensated for what you did.
You should be considered first class. You should be considered first class, in my opinion. It makes no sense at all, Brother Johnny. And Brother Robert is making an excellent point, and that is a lot of things that can fast pace or slow walk the process has to do with Congress. And one thing that broke my heart is that for years and years and years, Congress was fighting against those brothers that suffered from uh, uh, illnesses and things like that due to being around burn pits. Burn pits. They're ingesting this into their lungs and things like that. And I can't understand or even fathom anyone that have been elected to deny a veteran benefits or slow walk this thing. I don't understand what are they doing? Who are they serving to deny or delay the benefits for you guys that have served dutifully, that have given your life to this country? Brother Johnny, I want you to comment on that, and also maybe bring out some things, some questions we may not have asked that needs to be answered. Would you address that, please?
Well, with that, you talking about government officials. Some government officials have a good talk game, meaning before they get into office, they say they're going to do this, they say they're going to do that. Of course, when they get in, they don't. Or if that government official never had someone that was in the military, they don't understand what happens in the military, and as a result of being in combat, the mental stress, the mental stress affects your whole body.
Of course.
It affects your whole body. And like for me, being in Desert Shield, Desert Storm, so in 2015, I came down with IBS. It just came out of nowhere.
What is that?
Irritable bowel syndrome. Then in 2015, I came down with GERD, acid reflux disease. I started to get headaches. I started to get dizzy.
Yeah.
So a lot of stuff come from, PTSD, or a lot of stuff can come from the environment that you was in. Like for me, they was burning the oil oil refineries. They were burning them, so you was inhaling that stuff, or just the dust particles that was in the desert. All that stuff was ingested. We were gassed also. Um, so a lot of different things. Also, I came down with what they call fibromyalgia, which is chronic nerve pain.
Oh my goodness.
And when I say chronic, it's chronic.
Wow. 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 Wow.
So,
Yeah. You know,
well,
and I'm just shaking my head. I have let's see. I have a brother, Clayton. He's normally on the panel. He's it came down with COVID, so he's not with us tonight. Unfortunately, brother, I hope you get better, man. I know you're listening. I know you're listening. And we had Dr. Demery that had a problem logging on, but you too have been outstanding. Have been excellent. Um, like I said, I have a brother, two brothers that were in the Army. One brother that was in the Air Force. That's Brother Clayton Brown. He's also a Groove. I have a cousin that retired full-bird colonel. My son was a Navy. He was in the Navy. I have a granddaughter right now that's in the Army. And she sent me a picture of her in uniform with a rifle. The rifle is bigger than she is, right? But she's there. I have a Clayton's son is a captain in the Army. I haven't served. If I were drafted, I would have. But I didn't volunteer because at that time was the Vietnam going on, and a lot of guys were coming back. They had been spraying Agent Orange over there, and a lot of these guys came back, and I could tell how they were affected. But if I had been drafted, I would have gone into the Air Force. But my point, Major, is that not being in the military. Okay. And even I believe this to the bottom of my heart. Even if I didn't have any members of my family that served in the military, and I were in Congress or in a position of power, I can't just see denying the basic benefits that the people who protected our country deserve. I can't fathom that. It makes absolutely no sense to me at all. And I want you to share with us some things that we may have missed, some things, some questions that we didn't know how to ask or what to ask. Is there anything that you want to share with us that is important that we missed?
Yeah. So, what I will say, right, as an active duty member currently serving, politics is not something I can talk about in open forum. But
Of
what I
course.
can say for us is one of the things that I am most proud of is that one of the biggest reasons I serve is so that I can protect everyone's right to feel the way they feel about veterans, about the flag, about all the things, right?
Right.
As a person of color serving, I also recognize that I live in these multiple spaces, of oppression, essentially, right? As a Black woman, as a queer woman, all of these titles that I have, I recognize that those also come with their own degree of issue.
Mm-hmm.
And all of that comes with a level of advocacy that all of those marginalized communities need. And my job, when I put that uniform on, my job as Major Letitia Bland is to make sure that you have the space to talk about the things that you need and the things that you're not getting. And that may mean you do not support veterans because of that, right? And that's okay. That is okay. And I think that's important for us to distinguish as people who wear the uniform. My job isn't to say, oh, well, you are not allowed to do whatever you do
Right.
to the flag or say whatever you say about the presidents. You should be speaking about the things that you don't like in a country that is a republic that is free for you to do
Right.
that. And I protect that right. So that's something that I stand on in my 13 years of active duty service, 16 years in the uniform. Probably, I don't know, I'm not doing math right, but a lot of years in uniform at this point. I stand on that. And so I think that's important. I say all that to say veterans benefits are expensive. And as we are normalizing people getting to that 100% more often and people are living longer, veterans benefits are getting significantly more expensive. And so that is why it comes on the docket every time we go to vote. And that's why it's so important for us to keep our finger on the pulse, not just of the national elections, but all elections, for this reason, because they will get skimmed away because they are expensive. A big part of our budget is spent on people who served, and not just served in Iraq, Afghanistan, and Syria and all the recent places, but also Korea and Desert Storm, Desert Shield, and Vietnam, and even a few left from World War II. We have a lot of folks still around, and VA benefits are expensive. So when we start talking about weighing cost benefit analysis, that is why it tends to come on the docket. So knowing who we're voting for is so important to making sure that that happens. And then the last thing, I know you guys talked about burn pit registry. There's a huge push for burn pit registry. If you were deployed, no matter what that looks like, whether you were deployed for 3 months, because that's what the Air Force used to do. Sorry, my Army and Marines. We used to do 3-month deployments when y'all did 15. Sorry. All the way down to if you were, no kidding, in a 15-month deployment and you didn't know if you were near a burn pit or if you were near a waterway that had access to a burn pit. If you don't know, go to the burn pit registry at va.gov and register. You never know what you were exposed to. One of the things we learned, at my last deployment, a lot of the Black women were having, their hair was stripping, and we didn't know why, but it was because of the beta waves in the water. And so, and a lot of folks who didn't have our texture of hair didn't necessarily notice, but we noticed when we washed our hair that our hair was stripping, but it all was because of the water. And that water came from all kinds of places, also places that had access to burn pits. So you never know, you may not have smelled a burn pit or been near it, but you may still have been exposed to the remnants of a burn pit. So please go to va.gov, type in burn pit registry and register yourself, because that is also a service-connected disability.
Okay. One last question, then I'm going to go to Tanisha, and then I'll let Robert wrap it up. Question. I understand, and I believe this is per year. The veteran, I mean, not the veterans, but the armed services, in their budget, it was something like $750 billion per year. $750 billion. How much of that is any of that allocated to veterans, or is it a whole separate thing?
You're talking about the defense budget. That is
Yes,
that's
defense
not
budget.
Towards veterans. That is for some veterans programs like transition assistance, but that is the defense budget. So that's our new F-35s. That's launching new GEOs and NEOs into cyberspace. That's all of those things: housing, subsistence, food, you name it, for like Department of Defense. And that is also for our civilians working there. At least my understanding is our veterans budget is different from our Department of Defense budget, because those are two different federal entities.
Okay, that's what I don't know. Tanisha, last word.
Well, I was going to say, they can spend all that money to go to war, but they can't spend that money to go and recover and to rehabilitate people. That's
right.
What I'm going to say, that's where I'm at. I just want to say thank you, Letitia, and thank you, Johnny. Thank you for your service, and just thank you for a wonderful information that you provided tonight. Appreciate it.
Absolutely, absolutely. Robert?
Yes, thank you very much for your service. It is well appreciated, and we couldn't do what we do here in the United States without you as part of that, the hard work and the sacrifice that you made. And definitely, you held up your end of the bargain. Now it's time for us in the United States to uphold our end to be able to help you out.
Very well said. Very well said. And now, Major and also Johnny, we're having, I believe, Veterans Day is that November 5th
11th.
or 11th. We're having another. We're going to have a Veterans Day program that week. I don't know what. I don't have my calendar in front of me, but the closest Tuesday to that, we're going to have a veterans show. Raleigh, Rock from Raleigh grad. Thank you for your service. I concur. We want to invite both of you back November the 11th. What, anybody have a calendar real quick that you can look at? And what day is November 11th? Okay, because we want to invite both of you back for our special Veterans Day program. We want to honor you guys as much as we can. We want to get as much information out as we can. And you have an advocate in us. and I'll use my microphone and however I can to promote you guys, support you guys, and let's get the benefits you guys deserve because you definitely deserve it. There's no question about it. So, what's the closest date of Tuesday to November 11th? Anybody know?
It would either be the 12th or the 5th.
The 12th or the
5th.
Or the 5th.
Because the 11th is a Monday.
Okay. Well, that Tuesday, let's do it. The 12th. And I would love to have both of you back. You guys are excellent, and thank you again. I thoroughly enjoyed myself, enjoyed the information, and let's get the information out there as much as we can. And folks, we need to support our troops. We need to support our veterans because guess what? Like Robert eloquently said, you guys served us. You put your life on the line for us. I'm paraphrasing, Robert. You okay? Now it's time for us to return the favor. All right. Hey guys, thank you so much. I thoroughly enjoyed this, Major. Okay, Johnny, great as usual, my friend. Tanisha, Robert, guys, thank you so much. Enjoy your day. And ladies and gentlemen, thank you. You've just been listening to Groove Swing Speaks, coming to you each and every Tuesday right here on The Buzz. That's right, Studio W, The Buzz, Studio W, The Buzz, Global Radio Network. Tell your friends about it. This program will be up within 24 hours on our website. It's already on YouTube. You can go to Studio W, The Buzz on YouTube. Facebook, it's up on Facebook, Studio W, The Buzz, LinkedIn, okay, and the website again, studiow.buzz, available on Alexa, Google Play, Apple CarPlay,